the format.
Okay, well, actually, well, you can. Yeah, well, then we'll start with someone else, and then you can kind of see what we do.
Where are you, Earl?
She's in. Where are you?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Outside Chicago suburbs.
Great, terrific.
Okay.
Now, also, David Bartlett. One thing to mention to you is there's apparently another organization that's calling itself The Table, and we have to trademark our name if we can, and deal with that.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that tomorrow.
We'll send
So-
you yeah.
Yeah, because but again, because the table's been going for 27 years, and
And Mark sent a note to them, and they paid no attention.
of course. So we'll see what we can do. But okay, great. So Adam, why don't you take your turn, because you rarely get to start.
Yes. And I happen to be already unmuted. So
There you go.
Hi guys. I'm Adam Sartain. I'm just chilling here in nowhere in particular. So. It's a Marvel joke for those who know deep cuts. Anyway, I'm an actor, voice actor with over 75 different voices, accents, impressions, and a musician, and I am an associate producer on
Space Command. Yay!
Got my little pin here.
Yay! Great.
So, yeah, it's been recently. I mean, since I missed last week. So, since we last met, I've been busy doing Santa Claus. That's over with as of last week.
Great.
And I've been just earlier today helped Gino with self-tape.
Great.
I help people with self-tapes, both with the setting up making sure you have the proper lighting so that you can see, you can see I've got a nice lighting setup here. And also doing reading for you as well, and doing the tape. A couple table members I help out with that.
Great.
And yeah, so my Santa-ing turned out better than it could have, but worse than previous years.
Well, not a surprise.
Oh, well.
Not a surprise, but there's always next year,
Exactly.
so
And
that'll be good.
It's looking very good for next year, so I'm extremely hopeful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I still haven't had a chance to, but it's been holidays anyway. So one of my next things in my career that I want to do is talk to my agent about signing me on. They already represent me for commercial and theatrical, and I want them. There's delving into voiceover. I want them to represent me for voiceover as well.
Great.
So I'll be making a call to my agent in the new year for that. Those are the plans.
Cool.
Yeah, and of course, lots of Space Command stuff.
Yes.
coming down the pipe, as I'm sure Mark and David will be filling you guys in on.
Yes. Lots of great stuff happening. So great. Well, yay. 3 cheers, Adam. Excellent. So is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question yet?
Let's see. We do have people commenting.
Okay.
Wilhelm Sowers
Hi, Wilhelm.
Is this the last live of 2020? It is.
It is. It is. Unless we, I guess, stop now and start over again. But who would want to start over in 2020? So it's yeah. But I did post earlier a video about what I actually liked about 2020 and what went well, and so that was good to start off on a positive. And but it's great. I mean, thank God for video. Thank God for the internet. I mean, it's very different than if we were in 1919, guys, or 1918 when the previous pandemic. So we have a lot of blessings and a lot of things to be thankful for, mainly each other. So I'm glad we're all together here and and hanging in there. So let's see. The next person I have on my screen is James Roberts. James, do you want to have a turn? Oh, we can't hear you.
Hey everyone, how
there
you doing?
Great,
Sorry about that.
good. That's fine.
I'm actually at work right now, so I apologize for all the weirdness. I work for Honda actually, so if anybody needs a car, come see me.
Great.
I'm actually trying to just be positive for this next year, and I'm excited. And honestly, I've been working on a lot of things. I'm trying to get more stunt fights going because I'm a stunt man and I do singing, and acting. I'm just right now finishing up my resume, which if anyone's looking for anyone to do any of that stuff, I'll send you that info.
Good.
Right.
And I also want to say thank you to Mark and everyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to be joining in this wonderful moment of success for 2020. It's not so great of a year, but now we're going to make it a better year, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And one thing I can suggest, James, and I would suggest this to everyone, is that this is a great moment of opportunity. And so over the next week or so, you can do two things. Make sure that people have seen your work. In other words, if they're family members or friends or people who haven't seen your reel, for instance, make sure they're aware of your skills, because you'd be amazed at how many people don't do that. And as a result, opportunities are missed. And beyond that, call people you care about, just thank them for what they've meant to you in your life. Just with no strings attached, no requests at all. And if you don't get them in person, leave a message on their voicemail. We are in a society that does not praise. It often criticizes, but rarely praises. And so people are blown away at genuine appreciation of what they've done and who they are. And so that's another thing I would strongly recommend that everyone do, because it's phenomenal. The response you get from that is just great. And so anyway,
Mark,
yes.
James, have you sent me your reel and links and all that stuff?
Actually, yeah, I did.
Uh-oh.
For some reason, you didn't get it. I was wondering what happened, but I assumed that it just went to your spam folder, so I didn't want to bombard you with 1,000 questions on why didn't you get it, sir? But yeah.
Okay. And so James, is there anything else you need?
Other than my last question, which I did think I just wanted to know what the table email was.
Yeah, David.
I wasn't able to get it.
David can hook you up with that, David Bartlett. So yeah,
fantastic.
And, so you guys can connect up and make that happen. So anything else, James?
All right. Definitely would just want to get to know everybody and see if anyone needs anything.
Great.
'Cause I'm a singer too, so
good.
I'm open to. I do all types of music. I sing, James Taylor, Jim Croce, all the oldies, Billy Joel.
Great.
Anybody you guys have heard, I'm into Frank Sinatra. I do it all. So
great. Okay.
Does anybody need anything?
Not yet, but the night is young. So,
Okay.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Yay! 3 cheers.
Yay.
Excellent. So, Adam, is there now? And again, for those who are new to the table, we're live streaming with the table and also with my YouTube channel, Mr. Sci-Fi. So we alternate between. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
No questions.
Not yet.
But I will take this opportunity to remind our listeners on the Mr. Sci-Fi channel that there's the option to do a super chat. We've had them in the past. Kick a couple bucks, toss a coin to your Zikri.
Yes.
And your comment will go to the top.
Yes.
Of the list. And especially later when there's lots of comments to sift through.
Right.
And it's good to
go for it. Yeah, finish. Sorry.
That was about it.
And Adam, where do these coins go? What are they used for?
They go to Mark Zikri to help make more Space Command.
Yay! Great. And
also, people don't realize this, but the table is there's no fee to enter the table, and there's no funding for it. So if anything happens, like a website adjustment or something that we have to pay for, it comes out of our pockets.
Yeah.
And I think that fund is probably the first place it goes.
Well, it doesn't. The table has always been no charge. That's all. And when we're in person, we're at a restaurant and we just ask people to order food. But the whole idea that I had when we created this 27 years ago, and now it's thousands of members all around the world, was that it isn't an organization, it's a community. And that's why there's no charge. So there's no membership fees, there's no dues. You just come with a good heart and a willingness to be helpful to others without any requirement to do so. And it's thrived. And so that's the whole point of the table. Mr. Sci-Fi and Space Command and all that stuff is different, and tips are accepted. So, but one thing I should mention is the next Mr. Sci-Fi I'm posting. Some people know that I wrote a Space Command story about my character, the grizzled space jockey, who appears in the pilot. And so I was invited to contribute to an anthology called Space 1975, and I wrote this very fun story, and I just recorded a reading of it, which Dave Edison was kind enough to drop in some images into, and so I'm going to be posting that as the next Mr. Sci-Fi video in the next day or so. So just keep
on it as we speak.
Yay! Thank you, Dave. So I guess so, Aaron. Now, why don't we take your turn? Chicago certainly looks lovely. So go for it.
This would be all white if this was my background was actually what's outside right
yes.
now. Sleety mess. But yeah, I'm just here for the holidays. I came out here for a month. The one of the good things of a pandemic is now I can work wherever I have my laptop. So
great.
I am based in LA, but just for right now out here. I'm a screenwriter.
Good.
I was recently hired to write a feature, and so we're just finalizing that, doing the polish, and then the producer has locations and actors.
Wow.
Wow.
So once, I've been sending him links to things that I found about how to safely film during these times so that we can get that going. So it's a love story, family drama. So I'm excited for that to be wrapped up. And then tomorrow I have a series coming out on Amazon Prime.
Wow.
It is called Walks to Forgive. So I have a documentary, thank you, called The Way to Forgiveness. I walked the Camino de Santiago in Spain, which, if you're familiar with that, it's a 500-mile pilgrimage.
Wow.
And so for this series, I took people on walks over a week and had them share their stories of forgiveness. So they're like 20-minute episodes on just a variety of stories of things that people have had to forgive. So just thought that New Year's Day, going into a new year, to try to continue to spread the message of forgiveness.
Great.
So I'm excited for that. So I'll email the table with the link tomorrow morning.
Great.
But yeah, so I'm just, and then I have an animation project coming out at the end of the month.
Wow.
So all this stuff that I've been working on all in 2020 while I was hunkered down I'm seeing the fruits of the labor.
That's great.
Soon.
Nice.
Congratulations.
So I keep getting the emails and seeing what everybody else is doing, but haven't been able to connect with my work schedule usually.
That's okay.
To come to these meetings, but I'm glad to see some faces to connect with the names.
Well, that's great. A couple questions. The feature that you've been hired to write, is that SAG signatory?
It will be, I believe, because based on who he has talked to.
Right.
Because some of the characters are older. It's like a multi-generational story. It's part of it's told in flashbacks to like Vietnam era, and then it's present day. So the main actor that he has cast is 70s, and I'm pretty sure it's some old Hollywood is looking at getting involved. So I'm pretty sure it will be.
The reason I'm asking, the reason I was asking is because SAG has very specific guidelines for COVID signatory and COVID precautions. When we shot a few weeks ago, we're all at Space Command. We're SAG signatory, of course, and so David Bartlett, our producer, took a COVID course, and we had a COVID person on set, and so you could coordinate with David if you want, or just reach out to SAG for all of that stuff. It's very, very specific, and it's evolving as things change,
Yeah,
so,
and they coordinated with like the DGA and things, right?
So that
everybody was.
Oh, good.
They have like the different zones and things like that on set.
Yeah. Where are they going to be Where are they going to be shooting?
Part down in Newport Beach, and then some. It's set up in Northern California, and he has the location. They've been on board for like a year, I guess.
Wow,
he just didn't have the script where it needed to be, so he hired me to finish it out. So yeah,
that's great.
And I think at that location we'll be able to be distant. I wrote it with this in mind to have just a few characters.
Great.
In different scenes. So
well, you're doing great. Is there anything you need or any questions you have?
Well, if people have an hour to watch the series tomorrow, and if you're interested in forgiveness, and if you like it, if you could leave a review, because I am going to be pitching it to Sony Affirm later in the month to make it into a bigger series.
Great.
So, everybody else that's creative, the positive feedback that you can show to validate what you're doing is always beneficial. So
that's great.
So it's called Walks to Forgive. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, congratulations. Yay. Free cheers. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we do have a question, or thereabouts, from William Jackson.
Hi, William.
Who saw your end of 2020 video.
Oh, good.
Posted on Mr. Sci-Fi.
Great.
And wants to know a little bit more about the taping that was done recently.
The taping that was done recently?
Yeah, for Space Command.
Oh, well, yeah, we so far we've shot 5 hours of Space Command, and there's another hour that we were prepping when the pandemic hit. So we've continued building sets, and we shot one day with 2 of our actors on a set with a green screen, just to kind of get our feet wet in terms of shooting with the COVID precautions and all of that. And but all this time we've kept the physical studio open. We've been very active.
So we all had to take COVID tests before.
COVID tests, yes.
And
had a COVID officer there.
We had a COVID officer there, double checking everyone.
Yes.
And intermittently wandering through the set saying, "You're too close together, you're too close together."
Right.
And making sure that we're all far apart.
Right.
So there was
no petting.
Yelling at people like Tom Cruise.
Yes, yeah. So we were, so it was just a matter, but it was very good. We only had 2 people.
2 actors, you mean?
Actors.
Yeah.
We only had 2 actors to work with.
Yes.
And it wasn't a touch scene, you know.
No.
It was an action scene.
No.
So but it was fine. You know, people were in a very good mood. But we had like COVID regulations for the way we fed people, COVID for this, but
yes.
But it wasn't crazy, but you did have to be aware of I guess it infused itself at every juncture.
Yes, but we're really chomping at the bit to shoot more. We're very eager for the vaccine and all of those things where we can really get to a point where people really will be safe, and that is the main priority, of course. And but it's been a great time. So it was really nice being able to roll camera, and that's so that's the answer to that. So David Bartlett, you're next on my screen. So if you want to take your turn, if you can make that work.
Just looking for a story.
Well, you know, it doesn't always have to be a story. It could be a silent meditation.
Silent meditation. It would certainly be a good audio for that.
Yeah.
So I'm David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and I am a producer on Space Command.
Yay!
I'm also producing the visual effects, the post-production, doing the color correction, and building a studio. And so I'm a pretty busy guy.
Mm-hmm.
The studio is in great shape. We just put a railing up in the second floor balcony of the second studio, which makes it an actual safe working area, which frees up a lot of space for us. We now have our entire wardrobe, props, set dressing, and the crowdfunding fulfillment packaging up on that floor in a state that you can actually access and you can actually use safely. And the little staircase that goes up to reach it, which is great. And we also now have a brand new paint sink in the bathroom in the painting area, which, you know, the sink we had before was like 6 inches deep and you couldn't get anything in there. Now we've got a real thing you can put buckets in, and it might not sound exciting to you guys, but it's very exciting for the staff here at the studio.
Yeah, good.
So my background is that I made my first film when I was 10 years old, and I just decided that's all I wanted to have in my life, and made films in high school. I worked in movie theaters and moved to LA in 1980. I started from a dead stop with absolutely nothing going for me other than my enthusiasm and my boyish good looks and my charm. And I launched into the biggest film being shot in Hollywood at the time on the set, called Under the Rainbow, starring Chevy Chase, Carrie Fisher, and 50 at the time called midgets, the little people, that were set in a time when The Wizard of Oz was being made, and it was the first time the little people ever realized there were more than just 1 or 2 of them, and they kind of freaked out in the hotel and trashed it and got drunk at all kinds of parties.
Sure.
That's a true story.
Well,
so
yeah.
I set it around that. So that was my first exposure to a Hollywood set. So I worked on a lot of independent films that were very low budget, and then I started with Roger Corman at New World Pictures, and the production designer was Jim Cameron, now James Cameron, of course, and his fiance was Gaylan Hurd. So that's how far back that goes. They were about to do Piranha 2, which is Jim's first movie, and Terminator was his second one, but they did together, obviously, and that's how it all started. So I was working in low-budget films at the time, and I got doing sound design, and I ended up on some very large films like Pulp Fiction and Speed and Total Recall, and Tremors and Predator 2 and all sorts of films like that. And then after quite a few years of doing that, I was still always studying, directing, and producing, in and out of that, and going to a class at the Beverly Hills Playhouse with Milton Consellas. I was studying directing with him for many years. Then I started making independent films, and now I have 65 film festival awards for independent filmmaking.
Great.
So I've kind of run the gamut. And somewhere along the line, I ended up at the table 26 years ago, way back in the day.
Wow.
I was at IHOP on Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
I was there for a while doing that, and then I took a break and came back, and I've been back for 7 or 8 years now, I guess. 8 or 9 years now. And I'm a Space Command kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I have a success. I just finished a script that I've been writing for off and on for 3 years for a client. And that's a long story, but it's done. And she just has been emailing me back that she absolutely loves it.
Great.
Her entire notes are some typos and one introduction I need to finish that I didn't get quite done.
Cool.
She says, any other changes you want to make, just do what you think, because I actually have no notes on any of the script.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's what a good thing.
It's turned out to be quite long script. It could actually be turned into like a short, like a 6-episode short series or something.
Sure.
It's based on a true story of a lawyer that won an impossible case only about 3 years ago. That's got immigration base, and she's the only Latino lawyer in Washington State, and it's a very current kind of thing. And so anyway, that was a big deal. So in honor of that, I also finished my first short story in 35 years.
Great.
So I've been on a roll as far as that goes, building Space Command and writing and having a good time of it. So, so I got to have a good story to tell. What would it be? Is there a story I've told before you haven't heard in a long time, Mark?
No, I think I've heard all of them. It could be. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big thing. I mean, it's. I was writing today about directors who have a very distinctive style, like Hitchcock or Woody Allen, versus the ones like Robert Wise, who are chameleons in their way, because he did. As I know that you knew him, and that he was he directed Sound of Music and West Side Story and Star Trek: The Motion Picture and The Andromeda Strain and Day the Earth Stood Still, and he was really very, very skillful in any number of genres. And
I can tell a Robert Wise story.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure you know this story.
Okay.
So he was like my first advisor. He was on the second film I did, worked on. It was a short film he was making to promote the motion picture Home and Hospital, which is an amazing thing that's unique in the West for sure, that it is the only hospital fund that was put together by the industry that uses it. It comes from the actual producers of the film industry, and the funding goes to it directly. And then if you're a member of the union and qualify with enough hours, you can get medical care there, which the three of us have all done. So it's an amazing thing. My ex-wife got $40,000 of surgery in a private room at Cedars.
Wow.
For, I think our total cost was something like $400.
That's amazing. And she didn't even need it.
And she didn't even need it.
Yes.
That's absolutely not true. So anyway, Robert Wise, 4 Oscars, The Sound of Music, West Side Story, the editor of Citizen Kane. He's a titan. Is a chameleon, so he never got quite his due, or hasn't at this point. But he did a couple little science fiction films like The Day the Earth Stood Still and The Andromeda Strain and Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which the director's cut of that you have to see if you're at all Star Trek fan. It's a very different film and very good. And he did a scary horror film called The Haunting, and he did another scary horror film called Ivory Rose. And I mean, they're noteworthy milestone films amongst the many other films that he did.
Yes.
So I got advice from him. I said, I want to direct films. He says, okay, so these days what you do is you write the great American screenplay. Everyone will want so badly that they'll let you direct it. I said, okay, that's cool. He says, but if you want to learn how to be a director, be an editor first. The reason is that the editor learns what works and doesn't work and knows all the ins and outs of what to shoot and not shoot and what you have to use and what you wish you had on the set.
Right. And
I thought, well, that's a great idea. But my heroes at the time were Francis Ford Coppola and Steven Spielberg. And I figured when I watched their movies, they had credits like Best Boy and Key Grip. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that Spielberg knows what those things are, and I do not. So I spent 4 years working on the set in all different capacity of short films, from students to independent features. I was a camera assistant with a cinematographer from England who then, his name is Oliver Woods, and he wanted to shoot all the Bourne movies and U-571 and Die Hard 2. I mean, he's like a gigantic DP now. And I was working with him, and I had a lot of experiences like that. So I said, okay. I started working in sound, post sound, and that's a bit of a dead end glass ceiling job. You can't move up from that into these other jobs, but editors can do that because they work with the studio heads, and then they need a director, and then they're a perfect person to fit in there. So I saw Robert Wise at a screening of 2 of his films, Odds Against Tomorrow and The Setup. One of those films starts out on a clock that says like 8 p.m. and goes down into an alley and follows a boxer into a boxing ring. 90 minutes later, the film ends as he's being beaten up in an alley, and the camera pulls back and comes up, and the clock is exactly 91 minutes later.
Wow.
But they said it's the first time it had ever been done, right? So somebody said, well, how did you know how long the film would be to know how to set the clock? And he said, well, we shot it 4 or 5 different ways, but I had a pretty good count of what it would be. So they used one that worked, and that was that. So somebody said, how did you get to become a director? He was working at RKO as a sound editor, and he was running into the same problem where he couldn't move up. So somebody at the studio said, you got to get out of the sound department. You got to get in the picture department. So he got in the editing department as an assistant, and he worked up to be an editor, and he's working on a film with the famous producer, Val Luton. And the director on the film was drunk and falling down. So Val said, he's fired, you're the director. And that's how he got to be a director.
Wow.
So I met him at the interval between the 2 films and said, hi. And he says, hey, how's it going? What's up? I said, hey, well, I'm still trying to be a director here, and I'm working as a sound editor. And he laughed. He said, you got to get out of the sound department.
Yeah.
So that was my advice from Robert Wise.
That's great. Well, he was right. That's my
story for tonight.
Oh, cool. Well, great. 3 cheers. Yay. Excellent. So,
you want to do a Space Command part?
Sure. You bet. Go for it.
You want to volunteer for Space Command? You can come down and volunteer. We're doing a lot of painting right now. We've got a wood shop that are building sets and painting sets like crazy. And I need a lot of painting help. If you can come down, that would be awesome. We are fully COVID compliant. I'm a COVID compliance officer. I've got 2 sanitation mask stations with thermometers, and we are with gloves. We've got it all set up.
Wow.
And people come and help and work with us, and not one person has ever come or gone with being sick, even a little bit. So that's a cool thing.
Cool.
I also have paid positions. If you want, you can come down and get a minimal, wage, around the edges for being a runner. Sometimes the painting jobs pay, sometimes other jobs pay. I'm totally up for that too.
Great.
So I will put my email in the list here for you guys to reach out to me, and I can set you up doing that. Now, the table email is also one of my jobs. The table email is simple. If you want to be on the table email and be talking to over 2,000 people that are table members with the same kinds of ideas of how to run their lives and their careers that you do, the table email is a great place for that. There's also a table email for personal things, like if you are looking for an apartment or you want to get rid of an old TV, and don't send that message to Mark because we have enough old TVs now. The table email is a great networking tool and one of the backbones of what the table is all about. You can write to me and I will help you get set up with a table email. The simplicity of it is you have to have an email with your first and last name in it without Mogi Pie 2230 is not a table email. So, David Bartlett at gmail.com is my table email. But the email to write to me, that's not the email to write to me. davefilms@hotmail.com is the email to write to me. That's the one I check all the time. But I'll put it in the chat again too. So table email.
Great.
If you're having trouble getting on the table email, write to me about that too, and I can help out with that too. Our table email people that put this together with me, they're all on holidays and they're all in COVID lockdown. So they either have plenty of time or they're not reachable. Those are the choices. So I can help you out either way though. And that is my spiel.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. Great. So Adam, do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
We do. Our next question is from Mark Lungo.
Hi, Mark.
And he asks, will there ever be a Space Command soundtrack album?
Yes, there actually already is one. David Rakelin put together something called the Composer's Sketchbook. Yes, and that's available as a digital download. It's not the score. It's not the finished score, but it's a very interesting thing of seeing how he put things together. And we will offer the finished score when it's finished, and that will be available. Yes. So yeah. So cool stuff.
Yeah.
So great. So
Mark,
yes,
we could look into offering that for a contribution.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course,
great.
of course.
We could put it on in the shop, the website shop.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
I think it's just what I said.
Yeah.
We'll work it out between us, the wording, but that's, we can do that.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Sounds great. Terrific. So now I guess Bonnie, if you
Bonnie,
want
are
to
you
have
there?
your turn, Bonnie, are you there?
Bonnie?
Or are you? Yeah, she's on the
Okay,
phone.
yeah.
Bonnie, do you want to take your
Oh,
turn? You're next
okay,
on my
okay.
screen. No, she's got it. Yeah, she's fine.
Okay. That's fine.
Go for it.
Let's see. So what's happening? I'm going to score Mike Lopez's film.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I'm going to be doing that. And then still waiting on another film that should get funding. And let's see, getting out the word of the 2 Christmas albums that came out. And what else? Yeah. January 11th will be the inauguration of the new board of directors.
Wow.
Reunion.
Congrats.
Yay.
Congrats.
Yeah, so that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
Today I heard a podcast with the outgoing president has started a podcast series, and he had a very interesting interview with the new president and the returning vice president. And
Wow.
yeah, I've been playing around with some editing software, and a friend of mine had a retreat, and she had a monk that spoke, or actually 2 that spoke from Thailand.
Wow.
Let's take you for a walk. It's interesting. I've just been editing that a bit, so that's kind of interesting. I've learned a lot of new software during this COVID time, so that's interesting. Yeah, I'm really wanting to get the word out on our Christmas album, so I can put that in the chat. And now I have an email just about done preparing with all the information to send to the table email. So I guess, yeah, I think a lot of good stuff will happen this coming year. Oh no, I'm still working on a bunch of music books, helping to do all the final editing. That this person is putting out a huge music books. Just a lot of fun stuff.
Well, with you planting that many seeds, how could you not end up with a garden?
That's true. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, congratulations. We'll look forward to the Christmas this year album. Yes, coming out. Great.
I have there are 2 albums that it's a collective of all composers, singers, songwriters, and so I have one album is all instrumental and one is vocal, and I have 1 song in each.
Whoa.
And now this group is we're just getting started writing now. Valentine's. I mean, this group alone is gonna be extremely creative through the year. There are about 21 of us, and collaborating with different people. These 2 I did on my own, but founding wonderful collaborators, a bunch of really wonderful creative people. So that's been really great.
That's terrific. Well, congratulations. Good for you. Great. Thanks. It's a great way to start the new year. Yay.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay. Okay. So, here.
Oh, you have it. Okay, great.
Okay. So we're going to stop the chat for just a moment while Mark walks the terriers, and then we'll catch up.
Well, no. You can answer questions from Mr. Sci-Fi.
No. Yeah, okay. No.
You as Mrs. Sci-Fi.
Sci-Fi. No, I don't have the know-how. Well, so let's move on to Christine.
Well, hello and happy holidays. So I'm Christine Laurie, and I am Chinese. And in December, I joined LinkedIn, and I'd like to tell you that LinkedIn seems a lot like Potato to me. You meet people, and then it's like supportive in that way, and then like they know somebody who knows somebody, and like it's like the table in a little bit.
Wow, that's great.
In that regard. And I had set myself a goal of getting 30 connections, and now I've surpassed that. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know I really knew that many people, because I was specifically wanting to make my LinkedIn account to be focused on entertainment industry people. And heading into next year, applying for positions through the LinkedIn opportunities. And so I've been working on that.
What's Christine? What's your focus? What are you trying to? What's the long-term focus?
So the long-term focus is the same one that I have had, which is to do something within the entertainment industry, to shift from what I was doing to working in the entertainment industry. And currently my resume says personal assistant, and positions that I've been applying to have been personal assistant. Some are like to high wealth people, some are personal assistant to someone who's working in a studio setting, kind of a scenario, or behind the scenes kind of person for the industry in some regard. And I've been shying away from ones that put me in a 9-to-5 accounting opportunity. I'm like, no, that's not what I want to be doing. So working on that, and I'm finding that it's interesting because I don't have other social media. That is the social media I have. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I don't have whatever other social medias there are. I don't have any of those. So it's kind of delving into an entirely new world. And my daughter, she's gone now, but she was here, and I'm like, wait, how do you respond to this? Wait, is this important? Wait, I clicked on this and I don't know how to get out of it. And she's like, oh my God. But because the LinkedIn webpage is a little deeper, and she goes, well, this is just a feed. It just keeps going. And I'm like, well, how far back does it go? And she goes, stop, don't go back, go forward. And I'm like, okay. So it's about learning a little bit about social media as well. So that's been interesting. And learning about the Apple product that I have, the Apple laptop. I had a PC, and I'd never worked on Apple before this one, and I've been teaching myself many things on it. And and Google Docs. I've had to learn how to work with Google Docs and Google Sheets. So it's been a lot of learning the last couple months. And then I feel like that'll prep me up as I head into the new year.
Good for you. Great. Yeah, learning's hard. It makes your head hurt. Yeah, but good for you. You're going ahead.
I actually want to take a nap just to go, oh, so much is in my head. So, I do want to ask, when Mark comes back, he has a Space Command shirt. I can see it says Space Command, but I don't recognize the rest of the image. So when he comes back, make him sit on the sofa so I can see what the rest of it looks like.
I will. Okay. He shouldn't be too long. It's very cold outside. So yeah, well, welcome. Okay, well, we'll ask him about the shirt as soon as he gets back. Yay! And again, apologies to apologies to you guys. He should be back very shortly. The dogs were going crazy. So
I more had a share than an ask. So
do you have an ask today?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an ask today?
No, I said it more had a share about
right.
These are good things for me versus an ask. So.
Okay. Well, remember, as you determine what direction you want to go in, you can always explain your skills and see if there's any kind of alliances you could make via the table too. So, okay, yay, all right. So
Reena, I actually have I have a Mrs. Sci-Fi question.
Okay, very good. Hello. Hi.
I mean, the question is to Mark and Elaine. So
okay.
I think this would work. It's from Scott Baker, and he asks, how do you feel about electric cars? Are there any make or model that you've driven or ridden in that you'd recommend?
Well, Mark, we did drive the Tesla, and that was really cool. That was very nice. He drove the Tesla. I was in the Tesla. And so they had us they put you in the car, and the car sort of takes you for a little drive, And so that was very interesting. You had to get used to a very different feel, very responsive feel. But Mark is really hoping to get into an all-electric car as soon as possible. He loves them. We're still looking at the strategies because there aren't as many in terms of how long it drives, at what speeds, how expensive it is to link up and get, get the electricity. It's not that cheap for Teslas, certainly. They mark where they are, but it's not that cheap. I was surprised. It's kind of equivalent to gasoline. But he's very interested in being. What he keeps saying is, I don't want to keep it being part of the problem. So for him, it's like very important not to be part of the problem. I know that they're fiddling with solar cars that actually can link in and have some range. So I will definitely be going that way fairly soon. But just like with self-driving cars that drive into walls and things, we're looking for them to get rid of the little glitches and then pop in as soon as possible. But he's really high on getting an electric solar car as soon as possible. We've test driven some, including the hybrids, but right now it's still a little bit glitchy, for the details. But yeah, we will be getting into it. I mean, it's wonderful to have a car drive past and not make any noise. Although they've tried to fix that because it hits people who can't hear. Kind of kills them. So yeah, we're going for that. Okay, so Carol.
Hi, Happy New Year, everybody. It's so nice to see you. Howdy, howdy. Actress, dancer, singer, 20 musicals in New York, 36 commercials in LA. I hate saying that, but it's okay, right?
Yes, it's definitely.
Last night was my birthday, and I actually had the most wonderful birthday. Thank you. I had the most wonderful birthday. I just got people dropped gifts off. I got phone calls and emails like till 11 o'clock at night. I was so grateful. Who can say they had a good birthday during a pandemic? And I hope we all do. It was
happy
really,
birthday.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, sweetie. Thank you so much. I do want to just thank David Bartlett. You said something really nice to me last week, and it really warmed me for the whole week. So I just want to thank you so much for your kind words. I needed it. Muchas gracias.
What did I say?
Something very generous. I don't know what you said. It was before the meeting started that it was really very, it was very generous and confirming. So don't think that went unnoticed, even though I don't remember verbatim what it was.
Very good. Okay, you're welcome.
Really. Everything's closed this week, so it's amazing. There's a manager and an agent who's looking at as an actress, but they're looking at me as with my writing stuff, and I'm waiting for things to open up next week to get back to them. So I'm kind of excited. I also have, again, because of AFM, I have scripts in Lebanon, Paris. I don't believe it.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Who knows? Nothing can happen, but it's fun. It's so much fun.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's great to be, it's so important to be a hyphenate because an actor's life, you get no damn respect and have so little power. So it's very nice to be a hyphenate where you can at least, where you can come at them from two different directions. There was an actor that I knew who was trying out as an actor for a production, but then came on as one of the producers of the production. And it was like, she said it was like mind-bending because as a producer, everyone was talking to her with respect as though she was an intelligent person. And when she came in her actor role, they were treating her with incredible dismissiveness and condescension.
Amazing. Yeah. There is a pecking order. They say there won't be, but there is.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you.
Sure.
I have a little list here. I'm told that a lot of self-tape places are closing.
Really?
Yes. I don't know if anybody else has that knowledge, but I just thought it's probably a good time to start one if that's the truth. And my friend had a great acting studio. Judy Kane had a great acting studio in North Hollywood, and she closed it. I assume she will open it again. But it's for any of you who want to be entrepreneurial, I guess it's the time now. Jump in because when I was in New York, I was in a wonderful 1930s review that toured. It was most songs and dances mostly that toured. It was wonderful, and I played Judy Garland. And one of the songs I sang was "Sing When the Strings of My Heart," and the other song I sang in Spotlight in a pinafore was "Over the Rainbow." It's a hard song. On the stage, legs crossed, pigtails blue. Patent leather tap shoes. And I said, la, 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 la. It's one of the most gorgeous songs ever written. I didn't know won an Academy Award as Best Song of the Year. I didn't know that. But I was happy. I was honored to see Wizard of Oz was on this week. And 2 questions that I had when I did that show that I never got answered. And I don't know if Mark might know this. I don't know if you know this, but was Wizard of Oz the movie made for a children's film? Because I found it an unremitting horror film. I was scared watching it the other night.
The Oz books themselves are actually very terrifying. They're children's books on the surface, but it's like saying Alice in Wonderland is a children's book. The Oz was made for all families, family members for all levels, but Disney had this down, but MGM did too, and that was that they never made films for kids. They always made films for adults that would be delightful for kids. And that was the key, especially to Walt Disney. So The Wizard of Oz was made intentionally so families could come as a group, not just for the kids.
Yeah, because I was scared the other night when she was in the witch's castle. I had a lump in my throat and I was scared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about it. They run through a poppy field and they fall asleep. That's heroin.
For sure.
Heroin comes from poppies and it gets you addicted and you become numb and fall asleep. All those things, the suppression of the outside people, all the people inside Oz that won't let them in. There's so many political and other things you can read into that if you want to, but it was never presented that way directly. It was presented like a children's story, and then they put all those things in there, So,
Thank you. After all these years, thank you. Also, the colors that I saw the other night, was it original Technicolor or has it been colored a couple of times?
No. There was about 5 or 6 years ago, there was a full restoration done in 4K of the original negatives of the Technicolor elements resized into what you see now in that box set. It's an incredible thing. I think it took 3 or 4 years to do. It was an enormous undertaking. And each of those 3 strips of negative had shrunken slightly to each other so they wouldn't match up in size. So they had to resize every frame for 3 colors, one at a time for the whole film. So one of the things that they found out was that the Tin Man has a rivet on the bridge of his nose, which you can't see in any other versions because you can see it so clearly. And the Scarecrow very clearly has burlap on his neck that hangs down and becomes his neck down below. So there's a lot of details like that, but it's remarkable. It's worth picking it up and checking it out because it's pretty amazing. It's probably the greatest bit of restoration. That Apocalypse Now, they spent 3 months recoloring Apocalypse Now with the director and the cinematographer together, frame by frame, to get what it looks like now. So they're really amazing films to watch now for the restoration.
You're amazing. Thank you. The green of Emerald City was
it's unbelievable. And the ruby slippers against the green, it's shocking. And her color of the Elphaba's skin, the green,
God,
incredible. Just amazing.
I heard Buddy Ebsen played the Tin Man first and he couldn't handle the makeup.
Yep, that's right.
Well, they made him.
Also, there's a song in the restoration version that isn't in the film that the Scarecrow sings. And what he does is he just woke up and he runs unsteadily across the street and against a split rail fence, which is made out of rubber, and he boings off of the fence and it throws him across the street to the other side. And he hits another split rail fence made out of rubber and he boings off of that too. And his dance back and forth across this road is it's phenomenal. So. And
it was 2 directors, right? It was the same 2 directors who did Gone with the
Wind. There were 3 directors.
Oh.
Yeah, there were 2. George Cukor was one. Victor Fleming was credited. There was a 3rd one too. And that was that and Gone with the Wind combined were 2 of the most famous Hollywood stories for that they made masterpieces out of those 2 films. All those hands in the pot. It's unbelievable that it happened.
All these years later, yes.
David O. Selznick was the real director of Gone with the Wind, in my opinion.
Right.
He had the hand in from the very beginning, all the way. That was his baby. So anyway.
But it's not that he couldn't deal with the makeup. They had to change the makeup. The makeup was, in fact, was silver makeup, and they used chemicals that made him extremely sick. So
I believe there was aluminum in the base.
That's right. Yeah. And so they had to change it. And so it wasn't him being delicate. It's that it would have made anyone extremely sick. So
because he got sick, then he couldn't do the parts. They had to recast him, even though they didn't want to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep my eyes off of it, and it scared me as an adult. Whatever. So thank you. That's great. I'm singing in a Zoom New Year's Eve concert tonight.
Really wonderful.
Yeah, that's fun. So I won't be hanging on here much longer.
well, I'm glad you could make it. Wow.
How fun is that?
Great.
I'm so excited. I'm seeing gorgeous stuff too. Not the aesthetic. It's it. All right, how's my list? I think that's my list.
Great.
I wish for all of you in 2021 to take a risk.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yay.
Okay.
Good work.
Comfort zone for a minute. So, and thank you, Mark and Elaine, again for your extreme kindness.
Thanks.
Thank
So
you.
that's all.
Okay. Yay. Three cheers.
What you missed is Christine's question about your Space Command shirt.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
Where does the shirt come from? It comes from my closet, and
she's never seen it before. So
this is the cover of of Space Command comic book issue number 2, and because it's an illustration by Ian McCaig, my very famous Star Wars artist friend, and the model is Kasturi, who some of you knew. And that's about it. So
we had a question here, which I tried to answer for you about your love of electric cars.
Yeah, they're great. Well, though actually, there's one coming out called the Aptera. That's a solar-powered car that gets 40 miles a day on solar, and then you can get up to 1,000 miles range via electric, and that's extremely appealing. So I'm trying to decide now whether I want a Tesla self-driving car, or I want, a solar car, because we're in Los Angeles and the sun shines all the time. So we'll watch this space and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But
you get a hybrid.
Well, I want something that's totally off gasoline. I'm very, very over petroleum products, quite frankly. I want
I can recommend a very good electric car because I used to work for Hyundai for 3 years, so I know
Cool.
all about electric cars.
Oh, great.
I will get the Hyundai Kona.
Yeah.
If you want full electric, yeah.
Okay.
350-mile range.
Wow, that's cool. Though the good,
almost like Tesla, but unfortunately, I can't say that about Honda. They don't have an electric car that runs
no.
many miles. So Hyundai does a very good job. So
yeah, well, thanks for that recommendation. The cool part about buying a Tesla, of course, is all that money goes to sending people to Mars, which I'm very much in favor of. And and for those who didn't see me talk about this necklace I've got, it's inside of this little globe here are pieces of Mars. This is actually meteorites from Mars, and so that's pretty.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's a really fun thing. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, we have what appears to be a new commenter.
Great.
I can't say whether or not a new viewer, but a new commenter for sure. Otha Trim.
Hi.
Who asks, any plans for an alien romance for the new year where an alien poses as a human and the unexpected romance has many unintended consequences?
Well, I mean, Elaine often feels like she's involved in a relationship with someone as described, and it's gosh, do we have an alien human romance? I can't remember. We're juggling so many balls on all this stuff right now. There's a show that Michael Reeves and I created called Dante's Station, which is about a New York cop and his very, very disaffected teenage daughter who are transferred from New York to an alien mining colony with a number of alien races. And his boss is a female human police chief who only sleeps with aliens because she's a xenotelepath and she can't read human beings' minds, but she can read aliens' minds, so she knows what they're thinking, and that allows her to feel safe. And so I'm in communications now with Neil Gaiman to see if Neil will come aboard that project with us. So, we'll see what happens, but it's definitely a show I would very much like to do. Netter Digital optioned it many years ago. They did Babylon 5, which I wrote for. I'm hearing some crosstalk, so make sure that your mics are all muted if they're not. Dave, I don't think yours is. And, so there we go. Great. So let's see. So who's next? Akira, go for it.
All right, hello. This is
Hi.
Akira.
Great.
The composer and the guitarist and the Japanese language instructor now. I moved here the end of 2017, and this is the end of 30 years, since I moved in LA.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's all about me. Just I'm doing composing, teaching, and playing. That's all. It's all about me.
I did have a question.
Yes.
I know with Japanese, although I'm terrible with languages, that it's an extremely subtle subtextual language.
Well, it's a tonal language.
Well, it's a tonal language,
Yeah.
but the thing is that I had a friend who was a student in Japan.
Oh, good.
And she went with her teacher mother to a neighbor, and they had this conversation. And my friend, who understood basic Japanese, thought that nothing was said. And then when she and her mother, her Japanese mother, went back to the home, she learned that a tremendous amount was being said, but very subtly. So is that difficult to convey, the fact that it's a much more subtle, complicated language? Is that very difficult to convey, that it's not just about the words when you're teaching?
Learning Japanese name?
Yes.
Well,
it's tough to say. It's just, how hard you work or not. It's not the problem or that it's difficult or not difficult.
Right.
How much you're really into it or not.
Yes.
Just, if that guy, want to understand or not. If you really, she really wants to understand it, maybe she will work hard,
Yeah.
The fact is, fact truth, there's nothing changed. What makes change is the human attitude,
Yes. But
I cannot say it is difficult or not. Just if she really wants to do it.
But I mean, but also, Elaine, the way you describe that, it's very much like the way we speak here in Hollywood. I mean, you remember, you and I were in a meeting with an executive, and we were in someone on our side of the table was a newbie, and they didn't know at all what the conversation was. There was all the meaning underneath that the executive and you and I got, and they were totally oblivious to it. And so, because there's code, there's absolutely code, and there's a lot of stuff that's not said that if you're in the business and know it, then you don't have to say it because you know it. And so that's similar in that way. So is there anything you need, Akira?
Yeah, it's okay. What will be.
Mm-hmm.
But if so she needed my help, and I'm really willing to help.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks. Yay! 3 cheers.
Contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. Terrific. Thank you, Akira. Yay. So any more Mr. Sci-Fi questions, Adam?
Yes. We have Rose Kirby.
Hi, Rose.
Has a question for us.
Sure.
Wishing us a happy 2021.
Yay.
From England.
Thanks.
And her question is, she wants to know if, because you've said before that we've just added some new merchandise. Will there be any new merchandise coming in January?
I think so. Yes. There's the Space Command novel. We just sent that out to the backers, and we're going to make it available, on Amazon via Kindle and so forth. And the reading of my story, Mr. the grizzled space jockey, that's going to be on the channel. But beyond that, we're going to make some new stuff available. I'll talk to David and to you, Adam, about that. I think
also we're doing a narrated version of Mark's personal scrapbooks.
Yes.
And personal Star Trek scrapbooks, which is going to be really fun.
Yeah. And there's also the Art of Mark Zicree book, because from like the age of 3 until the age of about 22, I was a visual artist, and I have a bachelor's in that and had gallery shows. And so this is a book that will put together all of my artwork, and that'll be fun because some of it is there's some stuff from Star Wars, some stuff from Star Trek, and all sorts of things. It's a real compilation, as they say. So great. So let's see. So I guess Nina, you're next on our screen.
I'm live. Hey,
Hi.
everybody. Hi. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I've already had a couple drinks.
Uh-oh. Look out. Look out.
But I'm 2 hours ahead, so I'm 2 drinks ahead. Okay?
Right.
Putting together I'm supposed to learn how to do this because you all do it so well. Hi, my name is Reena Cruz. I'm an actress. I'm a singer, a hyphenated writer, producer, director, which, let's just take writer and producer. The director, just forget about that. I'll work on that. That'll be my New Year challenge. Okay?
Great.
I'm putting together a CD, a lullaby CD. I've never been a mom, but I'm a stepmom, and my husband has 4 kids, so I became like Uncle Charlie overnight. I just,
Wow.
So now they're having children, which is freaking me out because how do you have grandkids when you never had a kid? That's a weird thing. So the experience is pushing me into doing something. So I'm going to do a lullaby CD.
Great.
For them, which should be fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to write some original stuff and to find some public domain. Wow.
Cool.
Anyway, so I'm doing that and just getting that going because nothing's happening right now for the next couple weeks.
Great.
And sending out more pictures and resumes, just annoying people until they can't stand up and they respond.
Good. Good.
But I love your coaching on saying thank you.
Yes.
Because it's a big, wonderful opening for people.
Yes.
We all love to be thanked.
That's right. And also, when you open your heart, it really changes the equation. When you come from an open heart, when you come from kindness and compassion and consideration, all of those things really, people tend to get so focused in building a Hollywood career on doing, but it's really much more about being, and that's what you learn over time, so great. That's great. But the lullabies sound like a great thing. And also another thing you might want to consider over some time is the idea of doing a book or a one-person show about being a grandmother when you've never been a mom is a really interesting subject. That's a really interesting subject. And so I would start to think about maybe at least start taking notes on that,
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Well, 3 cheers. Yay.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New Year.
I love you. I loved Carol's idea of take some risks.
Yes.
What do you have to lose? It's a pandemic.
Sure, of course.
Yay.
Of course. Yeah.
I love you and thank you all for everything you support and give and think and sharing yourselves, each and every one of you. So
Great.
have a happy New Year and I love you.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you. Yay. So do we have another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we've got another Mark Lungo question.
Great. Okay, Mark, go for it.
You were talking about Dante's Station.
Yes.
His question is, are Space Command and Dante's Station set in the same universe?
It's an interesting question, and originally they weren't, but I'm very inclined toward having that change to where they are. And so I'll have to give it a little thought, but it makes sense to do that. And it would just take a little jiggering, and Elaine and I could hunker down and figure out a way to make that work. So yeah, probably it will be. It probably will be. And so that'd be very fun. But we're now talking with Neil Gaiman about, if we can have him be part of this, depending on his deal with Amazon. And we're looking into that now. So, but he's a great guy. I love Neil Gaiman. So cool. So let's see. Judith, I guess you're next. Judith, go for it.
Judith, can you tilt your screen so we can see the rest of your face? Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's we can't hear you. You have to unmute your mic.
Unmute. Can you?
She's working on it. Yeah. Nope. There you go.
Now
Scotch
and 2 eggnog.
Oh, okay. Jesus. Okay.
So I'm feeling nothing. Anyway,
okay, good.
Been a very weird week. I have been very industrious. I finally got into, and I know it sounds stupid, but I got into all my papers. I threw out 4 big garbage bags of papers and got my house really ready to move on Monday.
Huh.
I'm still looking for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I have found out some very interesting and horrible things about shelters, which I am now inserting into Apocalyptic. I'll have that done by the end of the month.
Great.
Someone called me and was interested, because we were all wishing each other Happy New Year, about Sebastian and Josie. And they have a friend who's a producer. They love the story, so they're going to get that out. I got to finish it. I called a producer that I had known for some time, and I just had the idea about Half Dead. And he said, whenever you want it, whenever you finish with it, I want it. So I called him. I didn't get to talk to him because it's the holiday, but I left a message. So we'll see. I'm starting to move again.
Great.
And the funny thing is I'm getting calls now from people for the dog. It's like a metaphor for getting your scripts out, because I'm being very focused on getting a dog and calling people, and I'm getting calls back because they're impressed with my resume.
Great.
So, as a matter of fact, I just was speaking to someone who has an 8-week-old Labrador Retriever, but I think that's a little bit, but cute face. I think that's a little bit much. Anyway, I'll have a dog probably by the end of January, because a lot of them are coming in now.
Yes.
You know, people give dogs to their kids, and the kids don't know what to do with them.
Yes.
But I want to say something. I'm a little bit drunk, so you'll have to see. Oh, Carol, happy belated birthday, darling. Happy belated birthday. I want to talk to you about something.
We'll just very kind. Thank you.
Okay. But I'm drunk, so I just want to say something. One of the things, I was very introspective this week, and I was thinking about, you know, I've had a rough time the last few years, and I was thinking about all the things that I'm grateful for. First of all, every day above ground is a good one, like my mother used to say. But I'm very grateful for you, Mark and Elaine, and for everybody in the group here, for your support and your friendship. It's very comforting, and it's a lot of fun, and you're all great, wonderful, brilliant people. And I'm so glad you're all in my life.
Well, thank you.
That's all, folks.
Yay. Thank you, Judith. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Great. Excellent.
Great.
Yeah. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Let's go to, we got one from Hayes494.
Great.
Who says, I saw all 3 Atlas Shrugged films. What do you think they all have? Why do you think they all have bad critical reception?
Now, I haven't seen any of the Atlas Shrugged movies, so I don't have really an opinion on that. Ayn Rand is very much an acquired taste, and she's a very strange lady. I did see The Fountainhead with Gary Cooper and Patricia Neal. Again, it's really interesting and peculiar. It's worth seeing, but it's really a weird headspace. It's sort of like when you read Hemingway. Hemingway is a very weird headspace too. I have no idea. I'd have to watch them. I don't have opinions about things I haven't seen. So, I mean, in other words, I try to not have opinions, because I think one needs to really inform oneself to have an opinion on something. But that's an interesting question. There's a lot of people who just don't like Ayn Rand on principle, and you know,
part of her philosophy is that it's black or white. There's no grays.
Well,
and the thing is that my experience of humanity is that they're very complicated.
Yes.
That we're all very complicated. And some people who make you crazy in certain areas are absolutely wonderful in other areas. And that there's tremendous complexity. And people who can't live with complexity, I find are fascists. So.
But yeah. But again, the thing is, you know, I mean, it's worth checking out people who have opinions very different from your own. It's instructive and interesting, and but again, I think one has to really be careful about whose philosophy one follows, because I think there's a lot of leaders who can take people into very dark places and very dangerous actions. And so, you know, I do have a book that I think I can recommend. I'm just starting to read it. This is a book called Swastika Night, and it's set in a world 700 years from now if the Nazis had won. And the fascinating thing, it's written by an author who's credited as Murray Constantine. But the fascinating thing, 2 things. One is Murray Constantine was actually a female writer, and this book was actually written, it was published in 1937. And it's about Japan and Germany conquering the world. So it was incredibly prescient. And it's a feminist, very strongly feminist novel, and really interesting in terms of really doing a deep dive on the Nazi ideology and what was problematical about it. But she really saw what could happen, or what could have happened. It's a very interesting book. And it's published. You can get copies. It's still in print and on Amazon and so forth. And I've started reading it. It's a very interesting book. Very, very interesting. So let's see. Dave, I guess you're next. Go for it.
Well, hi, good evening. Hope you all had a nice, those of you who celebrate had a nice Christmas, and we don't celebrate, but we had a nice, pleasant, quiet Christmas. We watched Mystery Science Theater's 3000's take on the very bizarre kiddie flick from 1959, Santa Claus. That's trippy.
Wow.
And then we topped it off with Weird Al Yankovic's music video, Christmas at Ground Zero. So plenty of ho-ho-hos.
Yes.
And all a good night. Mark, who did the back cover of the Space Command comic? I'm vegging on his name.
The first issue we had, the back cover was what's going to be the front cover of issue 2. It's Ian McCaig. The other artist who did the front cover is William Stout.
That's the name I'm looking for.
I thought so.
Did I just hear that he passed away?
I would be shocked if that was the case, but it's possible. I'll check on my phone. That'd be a really shame. He's a great guy, really a great guy. I'll check right now. So continue.
I just heard a news story in passing, and I wasn't sure if I caught the right name.
Well, let me check.
Anyway, speaking of people passing away, I was very saddened to hear that Dawn Wells had died from Gilligan's Island.
Yes.
82, which is a good run, but certainly not enough under these conditions.
No.
I only met her once at the cast and crew screening of an independent sitcom pilot that I edited 5 years ago, and she was sweet and lovely, and it was just very sad to hear, and also because some of the other people on the project were very close to her. Anyway, the pilot was called Life Interrupted, and it features a lot of 70s and 60s TV stars, like Erin Murphy from Bewitched. She played Tabitha, the little girl, and Alison Arngrim from Little House on the Prairie. Mason Reese is in there. Brandon Cruz from Courtship of Eddie's Father. So if you're interested, I want to punch it up. It's one of the last things she did, and she's done a few voiceover things and other projects over the interceding years. But anyway, it's called Life Interrupted, and you can find it on YouTube. It's got a white logo with a seesaw on it. So there's that. Other than that, I'm working on. This is going to come as a shock. I'm working on Space Command, and that's why those of you who are on the Zoom meeting here, if I'm looking up here, it's because I'm looking at the screen where I'm working on Mark's. There's a little side bit. It's not quite Space Command, but it's Grizzled Space Jockey.
Well, that's Space Command.
By the way, I listened to it, of course, because I edited it, and it's a terrific little story. So I encourage you to take a listen when it's out, or actually read it.
Yes.
Anyway, so I'm working on a couple of remaining shots on that. Mark had a suggestion for another shot, which in typical fashion, of course, is a pain in the ass, but I'll get it done. We'll cobble this thing together.
Yes. And
hopefully in the next couple of hours. And other than that, we're just looking forward to a lot of things. I am also grateful to Mark and Elaine. They kept a roof over our head this year, as did any of you people out there are Mr. Siffy. If you're a contributor to Space Command, you kept us going, so we can't thank you enough. And more next year. We're going to keep going. We're working on several episodes at the same time.
Yes.
Or a couple of episodes at the same time, and there will be more. There will be more shooting and a couple of stabbings. There will be more shooting as we move forward, and we will get stuff to you as soon as possible, if not before.
Yay! Thank you, Dave.
So thank you very much. Have a very happy, healthy, and mostly Trumpless New Year.
Yay! And I just checked on Google, and it didn't say that William Stout had died, so hopefully he hasn't died.
Hopefully not. Well, they would have said I must have misheard the name.
Yeah, probably so. So, but it was probably just someone who was stout rather than William Stout.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So, another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Believe it or not, I think
Uh-oh.
we don't have any new questions just yet.
Wow.
Okay, great.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, so we'll continue on with David Goldenholtz then.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're loud and clear.
Awesome. So one, I'm using a new mic. Maybe you can hear me better.
Yeah.
Two, so as most of you know, I do voiceover. I also do sound editing, and I've been doing that for a while, but recently I just came off of a shoot, and I was doing I was just literally last week and the week before and today I was doing a cooking show, and that's why I've been like gone. And also I did a voiceover for some books and all that stuff. So
well, excuse me, what were you doing on the cooking show? What were you doing?
That on the cooking show, they had me doing some switchboard. So I was doing sound and I was also doing switching. Oh, okay. So that was different, but you know, yeah.
You mean switching cameras?
Yeah, a switchboard.
For the sound, yeah.
But I mean, I know that has nothing to do with sound, but
it's not the sound. You might want to explain that a little bit more what switching is. If you've got the director in the booth and he says, stand by camera 2 and go to camera 2, and they snap their finger, David runs the machine that switches the cameras from one to the next.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
It's more like a technical director. It's not sound.
Yes. Sorry, I'm not very...
Oh, that's fine. Well, what do you think, as you're having these experiences, what do you think you'd most like to be doing so far? What draws you the most?
I most likely do sound and voiceover.
Okay.
Yeah. And with that, I also edit my own voiceover, and yeah, so that's something. If anybody also needs help with that, then I'm good at doing that.
For sound, are you talking about post-production sound or like holding the mic sound at the production?
Post-production.
I put his foot up in there.
Yeah. But that's basically me, so there you go.
Okay. Is there anything you need or?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, well.
Not today.
Well, you're keeping busy, so yay, welcome. Yay.
Great. So I'm coming back. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
And also Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you, David.
See.
Thanks. Okay. Yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Let's see. I think some of your Mr. Sci-Fi people have been checking out Bill Stout as well. So no word from Scott Gamble. No word on artist Bill Stout. So
okay.
I guess he's. Oh, here we go. Question from Scott Baker.
Sure. Hi, Scott.
Any word on the remake of Star Lost?
I haven't heard anything about that. The Star Lost was a show created by Harlan Ellison that went very awry in the 70s. It starred Keir Delay, but it was shot up in Canada, and Harlan disavowed it, and he put his Cordwainer Bird pseudonym on it, although his pilot script did win... I think it either won a Hugo or the Writers Guild Award. I think it was the Writers Guild Award, and subsequently it was published, and there's a graphic novel on it of his version. But I haven't heard of anyone doing a remake. But that's possible. I mean, certainly it was a very cool project, and if done well, it could have been really, really something. So, we lost Harlan a year ago, 2 years ago, and sadly his wife Susan also passed away recently. So very, very sad. So okay, let me see who's next. Aaron, we've done, right? And Mark Gushwitz.
Hello. Happy New Year. Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Christmas, everything. I don't know, it's not a lot going on right now because the holidays, so I've had a pretty, not necessarily empty week, but not as busy as I'd like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Although a client that I haven't talked to in like, a long time,
Mm-hmm.
has come back to me, and it might actually turn into a regular gig. Because when I worked with him, the reason we parted ways was because I was too expensive for him. I wasn't really too expensive. My assistant was able to cut a show, and she was like minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
And so he decided to go that route instead. And over the years, he's found out what minimum wage means, and he's been through like 5 editors now, and they take too long to do anything. And I think our last conversation was him realizing that since I take half as long, even though I cost more, I'm going to cost the same amount of time anyway.
Yeah.
If you take me by the hour and he takes half as long, you're putting the same amount of money in.
Right.
So hopefully that'll amount to something, but it sounds like it's going to. And in today's day and age, regular money coming in is good. It's basically a travel show that I help to kind of create that plays on the airlines. It doesn't play on TV. It actually plays on the planes, the airlines.
Yes.
So when the movie's done and all that stuff comes after it, well, there's a travel show that comes after it, and on like 3 airlines, and that's the stuff.
Wow.
So that's kind of happening. I'm color correcting my short film, which is going a little bit slower than I wanted it to, just because I'm learning color correction as I generally hand off to a color correctionist, but trying to save money, I'm teaching myself. Plus, it'll give me an added skill when it comes to work.
Great.
And I've been asked by a website to start writing some movie reviews for them every once in a while. So I'm thinking about taking that on. Since I'm creating my own website anyway with movie reviews, I think it'll be good practice. And the more you do, the the better you get.
Yes.
And I don't know, everything else is just the same old. Let's hope 2021 is better than 2020 kind of stuff.
Yeah. So anything else, Mark? Anything you need?
No, I'm going to probably start needing something starting with the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm going to need help with some stuff I'm doing. But this week, I have nothing to ask for. If anybody needs any help from me, just reach out. And I'm always here.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a question from Scott Gamble, who asks, what do you think about Rod Serling's Carol for Another Christmas TV movie starring Peter Sellers?
Yes. For many, many years, that was a rarity that was very, very difficult to see. I actually watched it at the UCLA archive back when I was writing the Twilight Zone book. It's not great. It was basically United Nations thing, and it's very heavy-handed. It's got a great roster of actors, Peter Sellers, etc. But it really is not, one of Rod's best pieces. And it's worth watching as a curiosity, but it's certainly not going to be in his top 10 or top 20 or 30 or 50 best works. So so that's my thought about it. But if you saw it on YouTube, that's the miracle of YouTube. So much stuff that used to be almost impossible to see anywhere is on YouTube, and it's made enormous rarities extremely accessible, and I think that's terrific. So let's see. So now we have Earl. You're next, and then Bob after that.
Hey everybody, Earl F. Smith, multi-award-winning composer, sound editor, sound designer. I've been busy working on the 2 films. Trying to whip my daughter in shape for a recording.
Wow.
Well, this will. I appreciate Mark, being open to having her, and so I've been writing. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Cool. Okay. Okay. Happy New Year! Yay, Earl.
Glad you could join us.
Great, terrific. And so another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam.
Caught me off guard there. That was
that was short and sweet.
Let's see. Here we go. Another Scott Gamble question. Any comments about Phyllis McGuire passing.
Hmm.
McGuire sisters were a big thing back in the day.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about that, so I don't really have much to say about it. I mean, I think we're extremely blessed to live in an era where work is preserved, because for most of human history, there was you couldn't even see a photo of somebody. You couldn't hear a voice or watch an acting performance or, you know, anything particularly. You know, even if you wanted to read a book or a play, you had to get a scroll. It was something on papyrus or whatever. So so the fact that we can listen to music from from the last 100 years or slightly more, and watch films. I mean, you know, all of these wonderful technologies are now over 100 years old. So it's a miracle. We can listen to Caruso. We can watch, you know, these amazing performers. You know, Humphrey Bogart is as current now as he was when he was alive. So that's why I love working in the medium of television, because again, it's a medium that lasts, and so I'm glad that her work will endure, and so she certainly knew that she had done something that other people would be enjoying for many years to come. So that's my thought about that. So
also, a lot of people go just to YouTube, but you can also check out archive.org, where there are incredible recordings, and the USCB cylinder recording archive, where you can hear, there's no video with this, but you can hear vaudeville recordings that were committed to 2-minute wax cylinders.
Yes.
And they're remarkable. Some of them are a little bit non-PC, a lot non-PC by today's standards, because a lot of them come from things like minstrel shows.
Yes.
But nonetheless, the performers were remarkable, and it's a glimpse into where we came from.
Yes, and actually,
as unsavory as it was in some instances.
Well, but also it preserves some brilliant performers. One of my favorite performers from that era was Burt Williams. He was a black singer and comedian who had to perform in blackface, even though he was black, and he's terrific. And his you can listen to his recordings, and he's just wonderful. And W.C. Fields said of him, he was the funniest man I ever saw, the saddest man I ever knew. And so I think that really says it. But yeah, there's amazing archival recordings. You can actually listen to Walt Whitman read one of his poems, and that's just great. And so there's some amazing things you can find when you do a little sniffing around. So so Bob Pincus, you're up. Go for it.
No one mentioned MF the rapper. MF Doom died.
Yeah.
I know it's not funny, but
well, no, but that's Elaine's favorite rapper. Yeah.
Huh?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
He died today or yesterday.
Wow. Yeah.
Not COVID related, is it?
He'd been hanging around with Don. He'd been hanging around with Don Wells, so there's no telling.
Yeah. I get these updates from Variety.com. Okay, so
Ray of Sunshine.
Bob Pincus, Robert Pincus. I'm a writer, and I'm just in my 3rd year with the table. And let's see. You talked about you're anxious about this space trip to Mars. I think I mentioned this to you. I've got a new idea I'm working on. It's entitled Bliss. And in 2036, the first manned mission to Mars launches. I'm forgetting my logline, but
that's okay.
And on their first venture into the solar system, humans encounter something that changes everything.
Okay.
And it's a cool. I think it's a cool idea.
Great.
It's a non-material being, and brings up a lot of questions, even as to human origins.
Yes.
And I've also got the comedy, which I've been talking to you about for a couple of years now, which is pretty far along. And I did change the name from, you made a mention of it. It's How I Invented Fake News. Originally, the name was Birth of the Internet. I just put them together, and I thought, Birth of the Internet, or How I Invented Fake News.
Okay, great, fine, cool.
And, one more thing on electric cars. Did you know Elon Musk is now consulting with Larry? God, I can't think of his name all of a sudden.
The cable guy?
Oracle. Head of Oracle. The Trump supporter.
Well, that's bizarre.
Yeah. Well, because he's Tesla is gone up 700% in value this year.
Wow.
And I'm into electric cars, although there is a problem with batteries. They're dirty.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think of the excavation of all the minerals needed. They make a mess, but eventually we got to go that way. I'm sort of into hydrogen.
There's a lot of work on alternate batteries being done, whether air batteries or
and potatoes. Potatoes.
Totally cool. And if they can get them to work, they're so much more concentrated.
Yeah. Well, potatoes can be used to power a clock. If you've ever seen the potato batteries, so they just have to extrapolate that.
Yeah, Mark, you could have the first potato car.
I bet I wouldn't have the first one.
Yeah. So anyway,
we just need to invent Mr. Fusion, and then we're ready to.
That's what I'm into.
Yes.
Fusion energy.
There was actually, Bob. There was actually for a while there was a fad or a trend to convert diesels into cars that burned vegetable oil, and the funny thing, because I heard someone told me that what they smelled like, the exhaust smelled like French fries, and so that's that's pretty funny.
Yeah, the cars we have now can run on hydrogen.
Yes, I've seen the Hindenburg.
Hydrogen in World War II.
Yeah, sure.
And if we have nuclear fusion, then we can also have the machines that suck carbon out of the atmosphere.
Sure.
Slow, like 20 years.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the future, and it's totally cool. I try and invest in that stuff. Usually get killed on it, but I'm always a little too early, but I'm totally into it.
Good.
So you like that birth of the internet, or
cool. Sure.
How I Fake News.
Sure.
Yeah.
And now, Bob, one question I had in terms of the Mars project is, how are you researching it?
Well, I asked you the last meeting I was at, and I did get the Kindle version of The Martian because I need to know the lingo or how they speak to mission control,
yes,
so that I don't sound like a fool.
Yes.
The main story here is they encounter this and they have to figure out what it is. And what gives it legs is going into the backstories of the 6 or 8 astronauts. I'm not sure yet. And how, as they learn to deal with this entity, how it causes them to question everything they've ever learned. So that's kind of the story. It's important.
Cool.
And what happens and what the thing turns out to be, and what it's. I don't want to talk too much about it, but
it's fine.
I think it could be really good. It's an entity that was created by another civilization.
Okay.
Been around because it's non-material. It knows no time, so they're wondering, is that where we came from?
Yes. Great.
It questions the biblical saying that God created man in his own image.
Cool.
So anyway, there's a lot of ways I can go with this. I'm still early in it. But
yes.
What were you saying about doing research?
There's like a Mars society that's very interested in getting to Mars, and Robert Zubrin, he's part of that stuff. And if you just nose around a little on the internet, you can find organizations that will have all of the information you need. And and Buzz Aldrin also wrote a book about going to Mars, as did Wernher von Braun, for that matter. And it's really interesting stuff once you dig into it. I'm pretty crazy about Mars in general. So
although once we get to Mars, then what?
then on to Europa, on to wherever we want to go. I mean, Proxima Centauri is now sending out some very mysterious radio signals. So, I mean,
I read about that.
Yeah.
The problem is we're a long way from traveling at the speed of light, and even that's not fast enough.
It's true, but there's things like ion drive that could get you up to at least a percentage of the speed of light. So, I mean, I think there's going to be some really interesting technological developments in the next few years. But that's, anyway, I don't want to get too far down that road.
It's all interesting.
Yeah.
Right now, the best way to go is through a wormhole, right?
I wouldn't try it yet.
I know. But anyway, so that I think it's a drama, but it's set in space.
Cool.
And the unknown.
Well, there you go. Anything else you need?
No, I just wanted to come in and say Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying, I hope next year's better than this year. But if you remember, everybody was saying that last December.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody was so sick of 2019. They go, I hope 2020 is better.
Yep. Well, there you go.
That way. I hope this one is better.
Yes. Well, I mean, the main thing is that we all have each other, and that's the thing that's kept many of us going. One has to have connection to others, and it has to be compassionate, because that's what makes the world go round, in my opinion. So, yeah. But it's good to see you, Bob. Happy New Year! Yay! So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes.
I gotta go. I'm making dinner.
Okay, good. Absolutely.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Bob. Thank you. Okay, so go for it, Adam.
We've got a question from Sci-Fi Nation.
Hi.
Who says, love to know where you think the state of sci-fi is headed, since most of what we knew as sci-fi is fast becoming science fact.
Okay. I think science fiction is always going to find new stories to tell. And as our scientific knowledge increases, science fiction will just continue to riff on that. I grew up during a time of great space exploration. So, Heinlein and Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and Ray Bradbury were very much proselytizing for an expanding view of man's exploration into space. Which I very strongly believe in. But, I think that we still haven't encountered intelligent aliens or any alien life, really, as far as we know. So there's a lot of still tons of stuff to write about. And even when we do encounter life, and even when we encounter intelligent life, there'll still be science fiction. There'll still be ways to tell a story that's interesting. And the best science fiction does not become dated merely because it's no longer current. I mean, War of the Worlds, the H.G. Wells story, is every bit as great now as it was when he wrote it in the 1890s. So, so that's, yeah, it's just, and Fahrenheit 451 is, again, still as prescient as it ever was. So, great. So let's see. I guess, Reena, you're next on my screen. If you're there. Reena, are you there? Reena? I'm not seeing her. Okay. Well, so, Elaine, do you want to take your turn?
Wait,
What we did Earl
do we
and
have
Nina.
else?
Just my computer.
Oh, there you are.
lagging a little bit,
There you
so-
are. Okay, great. Hi, Arena.
Hello.
Happy New Year.
I'm sorry?
Happy New Year.
Yes, happy, healthy, and productive 2021.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I just wanted to wish you happy New Year, and I guess to share the last achievement of 2020 on Tuesday. Have shot season 1 of a comedy show that's going to be featured on Visual.
Great.
And I think it was the fastest shoot I've had so far. We shot 12 episodes in 3 hours, remotely, completely remotely.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was very interesting. Luckily, the actors have cameras and the lights, so we were able to set up everything, and we'll see how it's gonna come together. And I was kind of wondering, you mentioned that you used to do holiday parties.
Yes.
Do you have any interesting, funny, fun stories to tell us?
Yes. The we actually had these vast New Year's parties for 20 years. and we'd have about 200 people, and we'd use a number of units in this building, and each year was a different theme: mystery, science fiction, the Victorian era, comedy, Renaissance, dance. Yeah, I mean, just any number of things. And we'd invite a wide variety of people, some of my mother's friends, and all the way to, like, you know, people from showbiz and so forth. And we'd have competitions and drawings and all sorts of stuff. And it was great fun. It was great fun because you get a mix of people all having a good time, all the way from little kids who would come, you know, with their parents, to people in their 80s. And so it was a really amazing time. It got to be extremely expensive and exhausting, and Elaine didn't get to have, you know, a relaxing holiday season. So finally we said enough.
After 20 years.
After 20 years. But it was remarkable. And you know, there was a couple that won one of our door prizes, which was an evening at an overnight at the Bel Air Hotel.
Yes.
And they said it was one of the best time they ever had. And you know, it was just fun to, like, we had in our comedy year, we had a joke contest where people had to tell jokes. And, you know, it was very fun to have young people tell jokes and old people tell jokes, and you never knew what someone was going to come up with. And but it was just fun. Everyone was having a really great time. The one hard thing was that our parties were so very popular that sometimes it was murder to get our guests to leave, particularly the older people. And they'd stay till like 4 a.m. And it was like, well, guys, Happy New Year. And we, you know, we saw these people having the best time of their lives. And when we were exhausted because we'd been putting the thing on, we would serve full meals to everyone. We would serve, you know, I mean, it was a full thing. It was a big production, but always very fun, and always, you know, well worth doing. Lots of memories, lots of great memories.
Yeah, we had one bad taste party where at the beginning, we always handed out party favors, you know.
Yes.
And we handed out little, like,
wind-up toys.
Yeah. And so we gave everybody a cute wind-up toy. And then we said, because it was a bad taste party, that the prize would go to the person who demolished their toy the most.
Well, we gave them hammers.
Yes,
we basically went down to the patio and gave them all hammers, and they wound up their wind-up toys and then chased them, battering them with the hammers. And one person, he had a little wind-up mouse with a little fake fur on it, and he skinned it and pinned the fur to his shirt. So he won.
He won.
So
but some people, though, just clutched their little wind-up toy to their breasts and said no.
They didn't want to kill it.
That's okay. You know, it's your wind-up toy. You don't have to enter the contest.
Yeah.
But the worst was the next morning when we cleaned up the patio.
There was all there
were little bits and pieces
of
like
destroyed wind-up toys. Yeah.
Wind-up eyes
looking up at you pleadingly. Yeah.
We felt kind of bad about that.
No, it's I'm sure what it was like to be a Roman emperor. You know, at the Colosseum, very much the same feeling. So okay, great. So I guess it's Reena. Anything? I guess we do. Reena, anything else? Anything else you need?
No, that was it.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. Excellent. So now I guess it's your turn, Elaine. Or well, Mr. Sci-Fi question. Any Mr. Sci-Fi question? Sorry.
Yes. This is one I haven't heard before. From Scott Baker.
Hi, Scott.
What is the attraction for recently B-listed stars to do all the low-budget sci-fi movies? Mostly knockoffs or big budgets on Sci-Fi Channel and now Amazon.
Often it's the paycheck. Often it's like they get like 30 grand or 50 grand or whatever for a day's work. And they say to themselves, well, okay, fine. You know, it's, you know, like Bruce Willis, I think is like $1 million a day or something insane. And so he gets paid $1 million to just kind of, you know, walk through it, phone it in, you know, and, you know, but they still like, you know, wait for the great role in the big movie that they'll actually be able to, you know, show what they can do. So it's definitely, you know, then there's indie films that really are being done for the love of it. And that's a whole different subject. But the ones that are just crap, I mean, I just paid to rent a movie with Bruce Willis that's kind of an Alien knockoff. And it's not really a great movie, to say the least. But I'm sure that somebody put up the money to hire Bruce Willis because they knew that would be the the marketing hook that would get people schlubs like me to rent it, you know, and then regret it, of course.
Also,
so,
some actors just like to work. And Keenan Wynn, Edwin's son, who was a very fine actor, he was asked once, they said, why are you in so many crappy movies? And he said, well, you know, I take what I can get. And although the movies,
he said, I like to work.
I like to work, but the movies may be crap, but I'm not.
He said, I never am.
I never am.
The idea being that he would always deliver a solid performance. Michael Caine is like that too.
Which he did.
Yeah.
Did.
No, and that actually for some actors it's a real study in craft to see them find the way to navigate a really bad movie without being embarrassing in terms of their performance. And then some of them are geniuses at that. Keenan Wynn certainly was, and he was very, very talented and had a lot of variety. So okay, so now it's your turn, Elaine. Elaine, wonderful Elaine, yay!
Well, okay, so during the time of COVID. Of course, I give a lot of things in consideration here and there and everywhere, where people are looking at it and reading it and trying to give me see if we can get anybody to put it on the air and give us money. So we're doing that, but just to address New Year, one of the most fun things we did was when Mark had we're shooting a pilot in Thailand, and in Thailand there's a thing called, which is in a lot of different parts of the world, called the Festival of the Lights. And what that is that you light a candle and you put it on a flower, and you put the candle on the flower, which floats, and you put it in the river and it floats down and away. And that is saying goodbye to that year and all of the pain and all the troubles. You can start fresh. You just let it float out of your life. You let it go. And we watch the light go down the dark river. And we were up country, that is away from the central city, in a small town doing, scouting for the shoot. And there was a huge long line of people waiting for their flower and, waiting to put their flower with their candle in, and, into the middle of the flower and watching it float away. But because we were foreigners, they're extremely gracious, and they took us and they pushed us up to the front of the line, and then they lit our candle, and we were able to watch all of the worries and fretting, all the fretting situations down the river. And sort of like this year, between politics and COVID and bad feeling in a country where it's supposed to be about the opposite.
Yes.
There's been some very hard time, but it's nice to think that you can always light that candle and watch it float down the dark river and start again. So that's been the image that's been, in my mind this evening.
So, there you go. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. Well, there you go.
That's me.
Yay, Elaine. 3 cheers. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam.
Yeah, I think I've got one more for you here. Let's do a really good one. It was right after the other one. This is a question from Scott Gamble.
Great.
And he asks, what great sci-fi novel do you think is the great unmade movie and to date and should be made?
That's interesting. I've just started making notes about that. There's a great short story I just read recently. I don't want to get the title wrong, so I'll mention it next time. We were talking about Capricorn 1 a few weeks ago, that's a movie that could really stand a remake that would be a better movie because the idea is great. In terms of novels, Half Spacesuit Will Travel would be a great film to get made. It's a wonderful book. Citizen of the Galaxy is great as well. Those are 2 Heinlein juveniles. People have been trying forever to make The Stars My Destination, and they could never pull it off. Alfred Bester, which the British title of that is Tiger, Tiger, which is actually a better title for it. What else? Let me think. I'm just going through it in my head. There's a ton of stuff. No one's ever made an accurate version of The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I love the George Pal version, but it's a great novel, and you could make a much better movie. With
it'd also be great to see War of the Worlds as a period piece.
Various people have done it, but never well. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I'm starting to make sort of that list of what I would like to adapt if I had the choice. You know, the Martian Chronicles, you know, is has never been done well, not yet. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff. So, and also, by the way, I just want to acknowledge and thank all the Mr. Sci-Fi fans and friends and subscribers and so forth, and you guys at the table as well. So I guess it's my turn. Yay, me, wonderful me. So, I just posted a video on Mr. Sci-Fi talking about how great 2020 was, because despite all of the negatives, you know, we managed to keep everything going. We ramped up. We didn't slow down. And thanks to our backers, thanks to our investors, it's been an amazing year. And so now we're, you know, very close to being done with the second hour Space Command. And we have the third hour already. You know, just needs to be, you know, have some VFX and stuff. And the fourth hour, we're just chomping at the bit to get that shot. Beyond that, the Showrunners Network is coming along really, really well. The investors are, you know, next week she's going to reach out to our investors and see if we can raise the $36 million to make those 6 pilots. And so far, so good. And you know, Elaine and I have been doing some really fun work together, writing on Space Command and other projects, Sweet Haven. I'm over halfway done with the new book, Greenlighting Yourself, which as soon as it's done, my publisher, Silman James, will be putting it out into the world. It's just tons of great stuff going on. You know, it's, let me see you know, I mean, we did that 2-hour episode of Space Command during the pandemic with, you know, and got Neil deGrasse Tyson and Christina Moses and Barbara Bain and Armin Shimmerman. I mean, we're so blessed. And it was very fun to write that short story, Grizzled Space Jockey, which you'll all be able to listen to me read in the next few days on Mr. Sci-Fi. It's been an amazing year. And so the upcoming year, you know, we'll see if we can get those 6 pilots made and finish the first season of Space Command and just keep going and get Voiceless Roar made, which is one of Elaine's features that we're now actively moving forward on. And Barbara Bain has said yes to it. Bob Picardo's reading it now to see if he'll be in it.
Fillmore?
Fillmore would be a great location for that movie. And you know, and David Bartlett's working at the studio and making stuff happen, and you know, and everyone's, you know, together making all this dream come true. And you know, it's just great to be part of this amazing transition, you know, this amazing tradition of film and television and science fiction. And it's funny because I'm going through my books now and winnowing it down a bit and alphabetizing my science fiction collection. And as I go through all these books, I find so many signed copies of books, and it brings up so many memories. I've been so blessed that the writers that I grew up reading became friends. I was able to go to science fiction conventions and meet, you know, Ray Bradbury and Richard Matheson and George Clayton Johnson and Harlan and all these amazing, amazing writers, Neil Gaiman, who then became friends. And so I have all these signed books from all these friends of mine, including Doug Hayes. Doug was the great director of Twilight Zone, and he was also a mystery writer. And I came across in a used bookstore some years ago the copy of one of his mystery novels that he had signed to Charles Beaumont while he was directing Twilight Zone and shooting Beaumont's scripts. And Beaumont, of course, is now deceased, which I'm sure is how that book ended up in a used bookstore. And I bought the book and then took it to my friend Doug, and he signed it to me. So it's signed twice by Doug, once to Charles Beaumont and then to me. And that was just phenomenal to have that. So it's, you know, we're living a wonderful life, and I'm so grateful to everyone. I'm so grateful to this life that I have, and especially and most importantly, I'm, you know, so glad to have Elaine sharing this life with me. And you know, I'm glad that we have you guys and all of you. And you know, I think 2021 is going to be better. And again, not to be political, but I think from my vantage point, we've endured 4 years of absolute insanity. And I am so glad that Biden and Kamala Harris won. And, you know, cross fingers on, you know, the 20th, he'll be taking his, you know, his oath. And then I think we're really going to see some changes for the better. That's just my hope. And, you know, I mean, it's like we don't
particularly if Georgia comes through.
Yes, exactly. And we don't have our flying cars yet. But next year we will have self-driving cars. And boy, you know, look out, pedestrians. That's all I can say. That's going to be pretty fun. So so great. And so anything else anyone needs? Anything else for anyone? No. Yeah.
I will say.
Yes.
And I'm sure everyone at the table agrees with me. Thank you two for all you've done to keep the table going.
Yes.
This year, in spite of everything. And there is a super chat that I wanted to shout out.
Oh, great.
Last minute super chat from Guy Linda.
Great.
It says, thank you for all you do. Live long and party on.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And thanks to everyone. And, I'm so glad that we are a community around the world now and that we can share these moments with each other. So thank you all and have a great new year and stay safe. And we'll be coming up with a lot more in the coming year. So thank you, guys. 3 cheers for everyone. Yay. Great. So we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you. Happy New Year. Bye, guys. Happy New Year. Take care. Bye.